Hey, fellas, good morning. It is day 14, wrapping up another great week of the Warriors Redemption Program. I've been doing a lot of exercises on growing our self awareness of our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, and those results that we have in our lives, that TFAR cycle. All right, and returning to that theme of metanoia. Metanoia, it's Greek for changing the mind, changing the thoughts. We're becoming self aware and growing in our self awareness of our thoughts so we can identify those thoughts that need to be changed, those thoughts that are not serving us, perhaps even thoughts that are based on a lie planted perhaps even by the traumas that we've experienced in our lives. So when we say repent and believe the good news, what we're saying is metanoia, change the mind so we can start to embrace those things and introduce those thoughts that are going to be serving us. And particularly how? Those thoughts that are going to serve us in our movement towards the super unknown goals, the desires of our hearts here, fellas. so, so we're going in self-awareness. There's another exercise that I want to share with you, and it was one that my wife was really kind of being persistent in pushing me to share with you, and it was one that I resisted, frankly, for a while. I don't really know why I resisted it. I think a lot of it stems from my own pride. Maybe I got to apply this exercise on myself and figure out what are all the thoughts I have connected with it. But the exercise is something that I've actually we've learned about from a consultant, a life coach. Her name is Brooke Castillo, and she calls it the thought download. And really what it is, it's picking a particular area, a particular topic in your life. Maybe it's a result in your life that you're not happy with, or an emotion that you're feeling at this point in time that you're not necessarily happy with, or a circumstance you're not necessarily happy with. And then just doing a data download, a thought download. You're writing everything that you can possibly write about that thought that's going on, tied to that particular circumstance. And it's very helpful in terms of being able to bring into the light, bring to the surface that which is in darkness. And it's also a little bit painful too, because sometimes there's some thoughts that are like, we're shocked that they're going on behind the scenes when we go through this exercise. And there's stuff that frankly I do it, and when I'm done with it, I take that paper, I crumble it up, and I throw it in the trash. Sometimes I burn it or I shred it. I don't want people to know the stuff that's going on inside my head. But the reality is that it's happening whether I bring it into the light or not. So why not bring it into the light so it can be dealt with? So again, that metanoia, that changing our thoughts, the theme of our week here, we need to be able to identify those thoughts that aren't serving us. And the only way we can do that is bringing those subconscious thoughts into the light or conscious awareness so they can be dealt with. So how do we do this thought download? Again, it starts by clearing the clutter from our mind. There's a great show on Netflix, Tidying Up with Marie Kondo, where she goes in, she's a consultant that goes into people's homes and she declutters their homes for them. One of the first things that she does is she has them go into a room and she has them empty out all of the drawers, all the cabinets, and just put everything out onto the bed, onto the floor. So it looks like in the beginning it's just like this huge mess of stuff. But then what she does is she has them go through each individual article of clothing or item and then identify whether or not it's something that they need in their life. And so they end up getting rid of a lot of clutter that's in their lives. Well, with the thought download, we're doing the exact same thing. We're identifying all the thought clutter that's not serving us in our lives, that's anchoring us, that's fixing us where we currently are in our lives. And then we're identifying what we want to keep and what we want to get rid of, and perhaps even some new things that we want to introduce. So it starts with a topic. That's step one. What's the topic? And that topic could be, hey, I dread going to work every day. Or I really am not happy with my kid's college choice. Or I'm not happy with my current financial situation. So pick a topic, whatever it is. That's step one. Step two is writing down all of the thoughts on a piece of paper that are tied to that particular topic, to that particular circumstance. And as we're doing this, it's important for us to be honest and have no judgments at all of the thoughts. All right, there's going to be a tendency to say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm thinking this. Why am I thinking this? You shouldn't be thinking this. Like, there's a tendency to do that. No judgments here. We just want to bring all that is in the darkness into the light. That's step two. And then step three is once we've been able to have all that information on a piece of paper, we can go through it, and just like on Tidying Up with Marie Kondo, we can start to identify those things that we want to keep and those things that we want to get rid of, those things that are facts, and separating the facts from the opinions, or the truths from the lies. And the lies that were there, as soon as we can recognize them, because we're separated a little bit, we can just cross those off the list and say, rebuke those things, say, I'm not going to listen to this. I'm not going to have this anymore. I'm going to choose not to believe this anymore. Or sometimes what we can do is we can identify, once all that stuff's on paper, we can identify certain themes that are running through our lives. And then perhaps that theme is tied to a thought pattern that's not serving us, and then we can introduce a new thought pattern, a new script that we want to live from, right? That's going to change the way that we respond to that particular circumstance. So something that happened with me recently that I'll share with you is guys, I wasn't happy with my financial situation. It was something that was stressful to me. I've spoken about it in some of the past lessons here, but I did a recent data download of my thoughts on my financial situation, or particularly around my desire to have more money. And here's some of the stuff that came out. If I earn more money, then it will take me away from my family. Earning more money will take me away from my family. More money, more problems. It's selfish to want more money. It's sinful to want more money. I really want to earn more money. I like having money to do things that I enjoy and fix my home up the way I want it. Why does wanting more money have to be selfish? These are first world problems. I've got enough. I've got my needs covered. I don't need anything else. If I earn more money, that means someone else is earning less money. If I earn beyond my needs, then that is automatically selfish. Easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. And so when I got all those things down on paper, brought all that clutter into the light, I could look at it and it could kind of distance myself from it. And so this is one of the byproducts of putting it down on paper. Because once we put it down on paper, we can start to separate our thoughts from ourselves. And we can start to say, okay, these are thoughts that I'm having. These are not thoughts that have me. These are thoughts that I can change. They're not tied to my identity. And so what I started to do when I looked down that list is I started to see this underlying theme that was running through all of these. And that underlying theme was I had this belief that living a life of poverty was virtuous. Living a life of poverty was virtuous. And that was underlying belief. And that's just not true. When I finally brought that into the life, I could acknowledge that that's not true. I don't know where it came from. It's not necessarily important where it came from, but I was living my life from it. And it wasn't serving me, and it wasn't serving my family. In fact, it was causing a lot of stress in my life, and that stress was actually permeating out into those other areas of health in my life, my physical health, my mental health, my emotional health, health in my relationships. And it was actually something that was fixing me in a fixed mindset, and it certainly wasn't moving me towards my super unknown goal. And so I needed to introduce a new script to that, and that was one of the things. And so now I'm introducing this new script of I choose to live in a life of abundance. I choose to live in a life, or I choose not to limit myself to my financial gains. I'm kind of in the process of really writing out the script that I need. This is still pretty fresh, fellas. But that's kind of the byproduct of what the thought download can do. It doesn't have to be a lengthy process. It's great when it's a daily process. Even if all you're doing is you're getting all your thoughts out on paper to the point where you're aware of them, and you're not necessarily going through and doing the analysis of them, fellas, just getting it out into the light is such a huge step into becoming more self-aware and identifying those areas of our life where we need to metanoia, where we need to change our mind, change our thoughts. Because again, when we can change our thoughts, we can change the feelings that are generated by our thoughts, those chemical responses. We can change the actions that are driven by those feelings, and ultimately that's going to change our results that we're getting. And if we want our thoughts to push us towards that super unknown goal, we have to make sure that they're aligned there. Fellas, take this trick here, take this exercise, and start to incorporate this again into another tool in your tool chest for how you can continue to persist, your persistence exercises. Again, these are all tools, and they're great tools, and they've certainly had a great impact on my life, and they're still kind of raw in my life here, fellas, so we'll continue to experiment here together as we push forward here. All right, have a great day. This concludes week 2. But we are continuing to do our persistence exercises. Again, we're building on all those lessons that we've had over the last 2 weeks here. And I'm excited to jump into week 3 here, introduce it tomorrow. the fellas, have a great day. Have a great weekend.